Hi, welcome back to the YouTube channel. This week we'll be talking about how I came about getting this job and what questions they asked me during my interview to become a school occupational therapist. So as I mentioned last week, I applied for this school occupational therapist job before I was board certified and before I had my OT license. It was just a good time. I was looking at different school districts in the state, and I did that by just going on Google Maps and typing school district. And then since I live in Washington, I found out about the different educational districts inside the state. And so I found the one that was in the area where I lived, and there were just lists on lists of different school districts. So I checked out all their websites, looked into careers, typed occupational therapy, and I found whichever ones had an open position and I applied. That's not true. I only applied to like 2 school districts. I was taking it pretty slow. During some of my courses, I heard some not so great things about some specific districts. I'm not gonna mention that, like which ones. But yeah, just make sure you know the role of the OT in that district before you apply, because sometimes they might not be within our scope of practice. I know there was a specific district where they were called motor therapists, and they basically did OT stuff and PT stuff. And I'm not sure if that's right to our profession or right to the students. But anyways, let's move on. I have some notes on like different questions that were asked of me during my interview. So I went to like the headquarters, I guess, of special services in the school district, and I got there early. It was a hard day to get there. I left pretty early because it was right after our snowpocalypse here in Washington. Like this past February, I believe. And the roads were pretty icy, so I left early, and I had on my snow boots, and I brought my heels in my hand in the car. And then when I got there, I parked, put on the heels, walked outside, and slipped a little bit and was like, oh, no, this isn't happening. So I got back in my car, put back on my snow boots, and then was like, I hope no one pays attention to this. Like, this is just what I need to do right now, and it doesn't go with the like professional interview suit outfit at all, but for my safety, I walked in like that. So the outfit that I wore was just like a white button up with my like suit blazer and my suit pants. So I have a pantsuit. I have a skirt suit too, but it was cold, so pantsuit was the better option there. And it was a pretty it wasn't casual. It was a pretty formal outfit. I straightened my hair. Didn't put on any makeup, I believe, since I just don't do that, but I don't think they care at all. So I checked in, waited up near the office, like at a table, waited about 15 minutes. I think they were in the middle of interviewing someone else, or no, it was the first slot in the morning. So I was the first one there, and then they were waiting for other people to get there. So I was supposed to be interviewed by 2 people, but one person was caught in all the traffic by the snowpocalypse, and so I was only interviewed by one person. And maybe that was a good thing, maybe not, I don't know. She came in the middle, like near the end of the interview, and just listened. Like, she didn't really ask me any questions. So I sat down. They pretty much, it wasn't like a special interview at all, I don't think. They pretty much asked behavior related questions, and they asked very common questions from lists you find online when you Google things like top 50 interview questions or things like that, things on YouTube like that. So I'm just gonna tell you guys all the questions that they asked me and sort of my answers to them. So question number 1, we got tell me about yourself. So in here I told them where I went to school, why I moved to Washington, where in my licensure process I was, and what field work experiences I had. And then I also talked about like the school field work specifically, because I felt like that was more relevant to the job that I was applying to. And I told them like why I liked it so much and why it caused me to decide that I was going to become a school OT. And then the second question was tell me about your fieldwork experiences, which I had already started doing, but then I talked about like how my first one was with people who had experienced strokes or TBIs, and how it was outpatient, how it was in New Jersey, and the kinds of things that we worked on and what kind of frame of reference we used. And then I went more into my experience with the school one, like which populations I was working with, what's like elementary, high school, etc., preschools, like what I did within those roles, and like my end of the semester project and things like that, which leads on to the next 2 questions, like what populations did you work with. I probably got asked that before I answered it. So, and then one of them was also what populations do you feel most comfortable working with, to which I replied students with autism, since my favorite was the preschool classes of students with autism, and I just really like working with them. I just felt like we really connect. It was easy to connect with them because they're so like easily reinforced when you want them to do something, and they learn so quickly when you offer reinforcements. And then the next question was what assessments are you familiar with? And I was familiar with things like the Beery VMI, the BOT2, the Peabody, the LAP and the ELAP, the written productivity profile, what else? There's a lot of assessments. I don't remember, but I can tell you that I'll probably make a video in the future regarding assessments that I currently use within the school district, and there's a lot. I mean, we use a sensory profile, the SPM, things like that. So there's a lot of things that we use, but I'll talk about that in another video since this one's going to be sort of long. So the next question was, tell me how you would work with a child with sensory processing issues. So I talked mainly about how I would collaborate with the teacher, collaborate with the student and parents, and see what's already working and see what's not, what they've tried and hasn't worked, and then like do an observation or a standard assessment to figure out what sense the issues arise in, and then trial and error different ideas. And then we have some pretty common things like what's your weakness and why, what's your strengths and why. Tell me about a time where you handled a difficult situation. So my weakness I put was public speaking. I don't enjoy it. I need practice with it. I need preparation. What's your strength? My strength was time management and like productivity. So I know how to stay on task, finish a task, and just like get things done in a very timely manner. The conflict that I handled was regarding a student that I worked with who did not want to listen to instructions or finish the task, and I worked with a teacher to make sure that she did, using a reinforcement that she liked. So the other questions are just pretty boring. It's how experienced with technology are you? I said very. I mean, I use it all the time. And then, do you have a car, and are you able to drive from school to school? And that's just related to being itinerant. So yeah, of course I do. And then what questions do I have for them? So I asked a lot of questions since I was really curious about how the district was different from my previous one. So things I wanted to know were what was their caseload like, how many students were on your caseload, what are some common service times that you have, because in Texas it's like, I don't know, it's like 30 minutes for every 9 weeks or something. In here it's like 30 minutes a week, 20 minutes a week, 20 minutes twice a month. So it's different. You see the students more often. I asked what assessments they used. I asked if there was mentoring available. Yeah, there's a lot. And then I asked things like what they specifically were looking for in an OT who would join their district, and like how would an OT who's already working there describe the job. So that gave me a pretty good idea of what the work was like and what a day would be like. But yeah, if you have any questions regarding my interview, feel free to post them down below. I hope this gave you some insights on my experience regarding how this process went down, and I hope my answer ideas can help you out. I wasn't super specific. My interview was about 30 minutes long. They pretty much took notes on a piece of paper. There weren't any really original or unique questions. Nothing tricky, just business. And yeah, press that like button, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.